Hello, Instagram Live. So I'm a bit early just because I first of all wanted to check that everything was working. Hi Rob, thanks for joining. And yeah, just while I'm waiting for, thank you for while I got my coffee. Hey Dan. So for those of you who don't know me, I left my successful legal career back in 2017. I took up kayaking and then became involved with some groundbreaking expeditions to raise awareness about plastic pollution and its interconnectedness with the stuff that we use, and how it ends up in the sea. I'm proud to have been part of those expeditions. Water's played a huge part of my life, and a massive part of that is ocean advocacy. And I can see that I've got Lizzie here. So hopefully Lizzie can request to join my live. And while she does that, hi Emma and Raven, thank you for joining. So yeah, water's played a massive part of here we go, we've got Lizzie, so I will hello Plastic Unwrapped with Lizzie, and hopefully Lizzie will join us now. Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I was doing that awkward, just rambling at the screen thing.
Really common, isn't it, in Instagram Live? Look at the state of my hair. You can tell I've been out on the beach.
A happy World Oceans Day. Touche. So how are you today? Are you good?
I'm good, thanks. You've got an epic day ahead, and I hope lots of people tune into lots and lots of these conversations, because you're going to go for it in terms of sharing ocean awareness. Have you been out this morning? Did you manage to get out, buy some water, or are you going to do a late night one?
No, I've been in the sea already today. The sea is like a mill pond today. It's absolutely flat and amazing. And yeah, I sat and watched the ripples. It was awesome.
Nice.
But anyway, so do you want to introduce yourself? Let us know who you are and what you do.
Can do. So I'm Lizzie. I'm a blue health coach, as are you, Claire. So there's a group of us who are ocean advocates, but also professional coaches. So an ocean activist as well. So again, similar to yourself, really, really passionate about looking after the space that I live and work within. So yeah, blue health coaching is predominantly using environmental psychology to help reflect what's going on within the people that we work with, to enable them to facilitate change, positive change for themselves and the planet. So in a nutshell.
Awesome. We'll come back to that in a minute. First of all, I want to ask you, what sea creature are you most like and why?
So I would normally come back with a question that would be, what's your sea creature? So I'm interested to know what your sea creature would be. So for me, I don't know about most like, although I am going for the body shape of these, would be a grey seal. And I would say partly because grey seals are really communicative. They communicate a lot they can give you a look and communicate quite a lot in a look, not just the really obvious communication. I love the water, and I think grey seals are really playful. I would love to say I was most like a dolphin, but I don't think I've got anywhere near the intelligence level that a dolphin's got. But I might be like them in other ways in terms of liking the water. So yeah, a grey seal, I think. What about you?
I should have preempted someone asking me this, shouldn't I? I think probably I'd like to think that I was a bit like a turtle, bit playful, bit cautious. Takes their time over stuff, but yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I've done sort of this exercise with you before, it was interesting how different people view turtles in a different way. So I kind of see them as wise old men sometimes, but I'm not sure why I've associated myself with a wise old man. But lots of other people think of them, like in Finding Nemo, as fun little like water dudes. But yeah, so what and I did take that kind of question from the inspiration from learning to be a blue health coach from you. So what is it that the archetypes of using sea creatures means to you, and how do you use that in the work that you do?
Yeah, so for me, I loved that you asked the question and why, because the and why piece makes a difference. You've just described that a sea turtle could be completely different things to different people, but it also might be different things on different days. So I might pick a seal one day and I might describe the why part of that in a really different way from how I might describe it another day. So it's not even about even the creature that somebody might choose. It's about what are the characteristics that they're noticing at that moment in time. And using sea creatures is a really beautiful way of doing that because it connects us to our ocean, but it also allows that to be a reflection of what's going on for us at that moment in time. And it might be one day I might be a seal one day, another day I might be feeling like a sea anemone. I might be feeling completely different. So it reflects that very transitional nature of our mood. And I love bringing that into connecting with the ocean because it helps reflect that we're all part of this wider system. And I'm sure, you know, when you're coaching, you're getting different, I bet you're getting different responses in terms of that and why and for what reason piece.
I think it's interesting exploring what characteristics would you like that other creatures have. And I think actually for me that's an easier question, which is also an interesting perspective in itself, that it's easier to think of qualities that you want that other creatures have rather than looking at the qualities that you already have.
Yeah. It could be one day I wake up and I'm like, what am I today? I'm a crab, and I'm a crab in a mood. And we use language like that. We say I'm feeling really crabby.
Yes.
I need to be crabby. It's like, how insulting is that to the crab population? There might be really jolly crabs out there.
There are,
I'm sure.
And yesterday I learned that there is such a crab as a shamefaced crab.
Is there?
Which I did not know.
Is it that? Is that
does look a bit like that. Yeah, pom crab. But yeah, those are two things that I learned on the Incredible Oceans quiz last night. So that cool. was good takeaway. But what does ocean connection mean to you?
So for me, and we've talked about this before, but for me, it's not seeing the ocean as separate to us. So it's a very ecocentric perspective that the water that's running through the ocean is running through us, and recognizing that we're one and the same thing. So it's not even, it's easy language to say, I go to visit the ocean, because that kind of makes sense for people to envisage what you mean. But actually recognizing that we are the ocean, it makes it much clearer that actually it's part of us and we're part of it. And that links in with ocean activism. That links in with that, why would you choose to look after a space? Well, if that space is one and the same thing as yourself and your friends, and you see that space as your friends and family and people that you love, and the ocean's part of that, you're more likely to look after it. So connection is all about reducing that separation and distilling the edges between the ocean is here and it's something to be used as a resource for human consumption versus actually we're intertwined with part of the same thing. So and that part of that is just spending time there. You know this yourself. You know, the more time that we spend out in that space, the more it has a sense of home about it. The more it feels like that space is holding us and it's part of us rather than separate to us. So yeah.
And so you said we are the ocean. What do you mean by that?
I mean, so if you think in terms of at a molecular level, we're water, we're gas, we are ashes, and that's one of those facts that we use. You know, 60% water is what we are, but essentially we are more fluid than we are solid. So even when we use terms like I'm feeling stuck, it's like, how can you be? Because you are more liquid than you are solid. It's physically impossible for you to be 100% stuck in your thought process, in your thinking, because your thinking relies on water. So it's looking at the fact that rather than having this stratified version of human beings being at the top of this tree and then everything else around that being classed as an external environment, It's recognizing that every element within the ocean runs through our bodies and through our very sense of being. So I had a conversation with the guys that made Undercurrents only yesterday. We were saying, can we change ocean to a verb? And I know, I love this whole verbing everything, but it's like the whole debate around World Ocean Day versus World Oceans Day.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's World Ocean Day because it's one ocean, but the UN terms World Oceans Day. What about if we take it out of being a noun and we say, well, it's a verb, because it is the process, the very process of living. And there is a phrase, and sometimes I'm really good at remembering who they're by, and sometimes I'm not, but it's definitely not my phrase. There's a phrase that says ocean is matter and matrix. So it is life itself. It is the process by which we animate our lives, which is really deep tantric stuff, I suppose. But I trained in yoga, so I love that sense of where do I end and where does the world begin? And actually that we flow in and out of each other. So as does our breath. So yeah, and that's a philosophical discussion for round of open fire with the ocean in the back. It's one of those deep conversations that you can get into.
And I think you said when I was down in Cornwall, you said are we breathing the air, the earth, or is the earth breathing us? Yeah. Which was another one of those kind of mind-blowing moments that you're like, interesting.
Yeah, that tidal element of our breath.
Yeah.
And the tidal element of a heartbeat, everything being waves, everything is resonance. Our heartbeats are resonance. And for you and I as coaches, we're not necessarily with all our clients going to go into that sort of debate. If we're having a coaching conversation with a business client and the first step is taking them to the sea to simply think in a different way, that might be their ocean connection. Whereas somebody else, it might be deep conversations around the concept of time. so it's accessible. The ocean is accessible to every single person that has access to water, because it starts, as we know, with our tap. So
what's your earliest memory of the ocean?
I've got memories of sitting in the bath, so that's ocean. So that's the really connecting with water, and the fact that we were really lucky. We had a swimming pool at home. We were quite spoiled. We had a little swimming pool, but it was our pool. So that was, for me, that was ocean, and I didn't see that as different from going to the beach. It was, this is water, and I felt really at home in the water very, very early on. And then I grew up in Devon and Cornwall, so the Cornwall area that I remember is Triana, and I'm actually going there this afternoon to celebrate World Ocean Day. On my afternoon, Triana Bay in Seven Bays has got a massive rock pool, and that sense of feeling at home. We used to get left on the beach, my sister and I, while my dad went off to fly his little light aircraft, and it was the late 70s, and probably it was a different world and a different time. So that's my earliest memories of being left on Triana Beach and being told, don't swim out too deep, it's the Atlantic Ocean. Parenting 101 there. So I was like, okay. And it's actually it's a very, very rippy beach when you're an adult, you look and you go, ooh, we used to get left here as kids.
Well, you survived to tell the tale.
And I think that sense of risky play, we're naturally, as children, we like to play with natural elements. So enabling risky play rather than wrapping people up quite so much is really good for us. It's really good for the spirit, and it's really good for that connection with nature.
It's more of a philosophy of how they bring children up in the eastern part of the world as well. It's much more kind of put your hand in the fire, it will burn, then you'll learn, rather than over here we do kind of wrap kids up in cotton wool a lot more.
Yeah. And adults. So our coaching clients come to the beach and they're like, oh, I can't possibly put my feet in the sea. For what reason? Learning to play again. And I know that's something that you're really good at when I've seen you coaching, that playful spirit of adventure and curiosity, which is, the beach brings that to us. And it's our role as Blue Health coaches is to bring that to people.
Yeah, bring people to the sea, and it's really hard not to play.
And I admire that in you. That's and the other Blue Health coaches, they all have that about them, that playfulness. You all have that about that spirit of, okay, we're all making it up as we're going along anyway, so let's be kind with our thoughts and let's be creative, and let's engage with the environment and ideally leave a positive footprint.
Yeah, yeah. And I loved something that you said on our last Blue Health Coaches call about taking a businessman to the beach. You can't really be formal on the beach. You can't, you know, you can't move in a formal way, especially on our beach here in Brighton where you've got the pebbles. No one can gracefully make their way to the water's edge.
Yeah, and you're NLP trained as well, so there's a thing in NLP that as an NLP trainer I'm really familiar with, the walk of grace and power. I don't know, you probably will have come across it even if you haven't called it that. Right. Just the bouncy knees, just the fact that our whole body is moving in a different way, and that physiology impacts upon our thoughts. So yes, impossible to be formal at the beach, definitely.
Yeah. So what brought you to coaching?
So my background is really corporate. So my background in terms of coaching is from corporate HR, learning and development. So learned lots about different psychometric models and how we think and how we relate to one another from a leadership perspective. But before that, I'd done sports therapy. So it's like this eclectic mix of being interested in how our brain and body is linked. And the third piece of that was animal rescue. I'd done a load of work around animal rescue. And again, it was that observing and noticing behavior patterns. And how do those behavior patterns send a ripple effect? So coaching, I love asking questions. It's like, you're doing all the question asking today. It's like, but I love just that curiosity of, wow, how did you do that? How did you crash and burn so spectacularly in that moment? Like, and what can you learn from that so that you maybe do things in a different way next time? So coaching for me is an adventure. It's that real curiosity. And for us as coaches, the onus is for us to be very good at asking questions and holding space. And that's the skill that we bring, and the empathy and holding that space. But all the answers, it's having that absolute belief in the person that you coach that they will have the answers. We're just there to help treasure hunt with them. So yes, it came from a corporate background. And then 2009, I went full-time. January 2009, went full-time working at the beach, and saying, actually, I think people get a better result in their thinking when they engage in an environment that facilitates that positively rather than in enclosed spaces. So, yeah.
And so leading on from that and spending time at the beach, and I know that you also do a lot of, and you've mentioned it already about the seals and the conservation aspects, but what is for you the link between coaching, spending time at the beach, and ocean conservation?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's completely intrinsic link. So the fact that, so I say ocean advocate and advocate and ocean activist. So I need to look after the space that I need to, but I also want to look after the space that I work within, because that's about creating a healthy conversation and creating healthy insights. And healthy insights create healthy outcomes. And the outcome is not just that individual goes away having a positive experience and making good choices. Those choices have to not be damaging of the environment that's facilitated those. So I love marine mammals, and I come across them. So we when we're out on beach walks, we'll see them and we'll use them to reflect back insights. So they're part of our team when we're exploring. When we're out treasure hunting, they actually join our team for that. They're part of our team members. But also I come across marine litter. So again, for us, and again, yourself, this as a Blue Health Coach, you're going to see the human footprint when we're out in that space. And that physically hurts me when I see that. So it actually it's a very visceral experience to see an environment that you care and love being damaged. So actually the need to look after that space, and if we can introduce those little droplets that create ripple effect in terms of people's lifestyles, in terms of recognizing that they are part of that environment, then that's a really good outcome. So although our agenda is our client's agenda, our overall purpose as Blue Health Coaches is we've got to look after this beautiful planet. So they are intrinsically linked, and the marine mammals on them as well, as part of that.
Yeah, 100%. And that's how I came into the Blue Health Coaching, from the conservation angle. And I love
you've done loads, and it's like because GhostNet, I think we connect on GhostNet as well, because Ghost Fishing Net is such a
policy innovation.
Yeah, terrible thing. And it's like, and it's not vilified. Again, it's not coming from how do we vilify the fishermen who've lost this. It's how do we question the system?
Yeah,
that the system is healthy. So And
Yeah.
that's again, it's that ethos of, we're not looking at guilt and shame, we're looking at how do we collectively promote health and wisdom.
Yeah, the fishing nets is a prime example. It's all about understanding. I mean, it costs them to get rid of the nets, so it's a completely understandable kind of catch-22 situation that they're in.
Yeah.
Actually, at 2 o'clock, I'm talking to Clare Potter, and she's part of the Triple GI, so the Global Ghost Gear Initiative, and is quite intrinsically involved with lots of the campaigns for turning stuff into that, for recovering the nets, as you are as well, and then finding circular economy solutions. So,
and if I'm in the sea at that point in time, and for any of these talks, they're all going on your IGTV anyway, aren't they, so that people can pick them up afterwards, because I'm really keen to watch that, but I know that I'm going to be in the water. So I'm able to ask
yes,
5 questions.
hopefully I can work out the technology,
okay.
and hopefully when I end this, it will give me a save option.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
But yeah, that kind of takes me back round to, like, obviously we're in the midst of crazy, uncertain, strange times right now, and I certainly at the beginning of the pandemic was optimistic. Very, like, everyone was like, wow, everything's kind of clean and quiet, nature's taking over, we've got turtles nesting on beaches that haven't been there for years, we've got, I think somewhere there are seahorse populations that are growing where they haven't been for a long time. There's huge amounts of positivity that can be taken. And then on the flip side of that, as soon as we started to come out of lockdown, and I know that Surfers Against Sewage has been massively fundamental in raising awareness of the huge impact of people just coming straight back to the beaches and then leaving their rubbish behind.
Yeah.
So I wonder what your experience has been of the pandemic so far on a personal level, and also what your advice is using your professional hat as to how Blue Health can help people through it.
So there's a few questions in that. So one is, I'm a rep for Surfers Against Sewage, so there's a lot of messaging around education coming out, because even when people are overfilling bins, they're thinking they're doing the right thing. They're just not recognizing that A, the infrastructure isn't there, and B, they're inviting too much plastic into their life in the first place. So there's that piece around dealing with things upstream, because people are overwhelmed by how much plastic comes into their world. So there's that piece. There is a piece around managing ourselves and coming from a place of love, which I think is relevant from Blue Health coaching, but that seeps into everything, that distills into our approach. So I had a real dark moment last week when the bins were overflowing and the beach was looking absolutely appalling, and it felt very, very uncomfortable to see the environment in that way. But the longer I stayed in that space, that's not a creative space to be in. That's, once you're blaming and shaming and looking for who to point fingers at, it's not very resourceful, and it may feel overwhelming. But actually, when you start to flip it and recognize that the reason that you're upset is because you love the space, that gets you into a more resourceful place to start looking for solutions. So reaching out to collective organizations and people that also care. So that grows the heart as well, because that says, well, there is, as a cause to look after the planet, I'm not on my own here. And actually that voice then becomes a little bit louder. So that's a Blue Health message around protect what you love, and therefore learn to love the environment so that you protect it. But when you get knocked off course, that breathing and reminding yourself that the reason that you're knocked off course is because you care, because otherwise you wouldn't be feeling uncomfortable. So it's that leading with the heart piece. And then the advice for people that don't actually have direct access to the water, so therefore they're maybe not seeing this directly, they might just be seeing it on the news, is recognizing that everything that we do in our homes, even if we're not directly at the beach, eventually filters downstream. So it's that awareness of upstream and downstream, and that we all are all part of the stream. So we're not even, we're all actually, it's flowing through us. That's kind of, that awareness raising is really, really important from an ocean activism point of view, but also from a being ocean-like and knowing that we are part of that system is more empowering than blame and shame, I'd say.
And actually being active. So I kind of had that same slump last week, and then on Saturday, our local Surfers Against Sewage reps organised a beach clean. Typically it was the windiest day that we've had forever. But still, it feels good to be doing something. And that, I've realised, is a huge part of my mental health and part of my journey. And it's part of the whole Blue Health philosophy as well.
Yeah, being outdoors in the space is physically rewarding, it's socially connecting, it's psychologically healing. So, and it's a spiritual awakening for many in terms of recognizing that they are part of this much bigger ecosphere that is, you know, not even their little ecosystems, an ecosphere. They're part of it at a molecular level. It's in them. So it's, yeah, we are the ocean is a commonly used phrase, but actually embodying that and breathing into that and saying, well, what does that mean, is really empowering, I think. So yeah, I'm glad that you took part. It usually is, when we organise a beach clean, it usually is the windiest day.
Yeah.
But you get fresh air, and I think also if you're doing, and I think the 2-minute beach clean philosophy of Martin Dory's is really powerful, because it's all these different environmental charities. They're all have a collective aim. So it doesn't matter whether you label it Keep Britain Tidy or SAS or the Wildlife Trust or Marine Conservation Society. They're all coming from the heart. And a 2-minute beach clean keeps things in proportion. It means that your whole life isn't just focused on the litter. Otherwise you associate the ocean with that. So you need to also acknowledge the beauty at the same time, so you have that sense of balance, I think. And that's a blue mind philosophy, which we also talk about as blue health coaches. You have this sense of moving towards love, as well as acknowledging where we are. So yeah.
And I can see the Undercurrents film we're watching. So that's one way that people can connect with Blue Mind if they're not near the ocean.
Yeah. So, and that film is amazing. That film is amazing. I would love people to watch that. You've watched the film. You know Chrissy Imbron. It's not a film about surfing. It's a film about love. It's a film about love and connection. It's beautifully put together, beautifully edited, and it's about connection with the ocean in whatever way you connect with it, near, in, on, or under. So yeah,
it's like
Happy World Oceans Day, ladies.
It's like an ocean meditation, and I think that was partly the intention, but it definitely feels like that. So what other ways can people connect with Blue Minds if they're not near the ocean?
So they can join the Blue Mind Groundswell. So there's lots of Blue Mind Facebook pages, but one of them is the Blue Mind Groundswell, and we celebrate 100 days of blue. Today's day 15. We celebrate blue every day of the year, but through the summer we celebrate that. And you don't have to do every day of 100 days of blue, but it's about consciously connecting with water and recognizing the value in it. And that's where people can access the work of my friend Wallace J. Nichols, who wrote the book Blue Mind, which is a beautifully written book that really eloquently communicates the sensations that we experience when we're around blue space. So that's from a Blue Mind point of view. Blue Health is about the application of blue health science. And you're a blue health coach. So if anybody, they don't need to be in Brighton because you can do online coaching. But if anybody wants to reach out to a blue health coach, there's yourself, there's Emma, there's Chris, there's Raven, there's Shelley, there's Kat, and there's myself. So there's 7 of us in the world so far that are blue health coaches. But there are also people who do eco psychology, individuals that connect in with water in the way that they work. Drink plenty of water. So acknowledge when you're drinking water, that's water, and recognize all the places that water is omnipresent in your life. So from the moment you wake up in the morning, you interact with water as well as being it. You clean, you brush your teeth. We're really lucky to have running water through our taps. Water features in our art, in our poetry, in music. It's all around us. And so even if you can't get to real water, there are ways of, whether it's meditation or whether it's listening to some music, that the lyrics are very water evocative, or watching a film like Undercurrents. Blue Mind team have got lots of video footage. Jay's put together loads of videos around Blue Mind. So there are, just acknowledge every time you come into contact with water, that is water. That's a great meditation to do. So, oh, this is water. I'm drinking my coffee. This is water right here. We take it for granted.
Yeah.
And there's a phrase that actually I used the terms first. I think was, you know, if it's underutilized and it's undervalued. And Jay often talks about, you know, if you undervalue anything, bad things happen. So maybe if we flip that for World Oceans Day from the if you undervalue anything, bad things happen. Let's look at if you value something, good things happen.
Yeah.
Let's flip it that way. Let's remember to value it, because actually the ripple effect of valuing something is generally a more positive outcome. So she says, swigging her coffee, swigging her polluted water. I polluted that water with coffee, with caffeine.
I'm just going to say, Amy Scuba Diver has just asked us to repeat the name of the film. So the film is Undercurrents, and I can ping a link up, but the film's Undercurrents. You can find it on social media. And I'll also say there are a few people watching. If anyone has a question for Lizzie, if you want to stick it in the comments box, I've got a couple of more questions, and then I will open it to anyone else, and then we'll wrap up in about 10 minutes. So if anyone has a question for Lizzie, then do stick it in the comments box.
You've got hardcore there. You've got lots and lots of interviews, which is amazing. And I'm really I'm grateful for that, because I'm going to be binging on the content after I get out to the beach. I'm really like, right, what can I binge on in terms of conversations? So
awesome. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Really good. And I'd say anybody watching, you know, if you can share Claire's Twitter feed, because then people get access to these conversations. And if you look up the hashtag Blue Health Coach, any of our team crew, group, collective, groundswell, whatever you call it, we tend to hashtag Blue Health Coach. We tend to hashtag Blue Mind, and you'll be amazed how many people you connect with. And that's a really good thing around social media from a positive perspective, recognizing how connected we all are. And we got contacts all over the world that are like-minded in wanting to look after this blue space. So yeah, which I love.
Awesome. So I've got one of these in my hand here.
Cool. Shall I get one? I've got a bundle of them. I've just taken the blue tits of Perranporth for doing a swim this morning. So I've just taken about 40 of them. I took about 40 of them down to the beach, because they're supposed to be in small groups of 6. And I went down there, and there's all these pods of 6 people.
Oh, amazing.
And it's the ones that generally you hand a marble heart to heart, eye to eye, and you say, I'm really grateful for the value that you're bringing to the planet. And it's a reminder that on this ocean planet, we all play our part. And this comes from Wallace J. Nichols' Blue Mind movement. And he gave these out a few years ago, and he said, if you hold it up to arm's length, it reminds us that we're a tiny dot floating in space, and that everything that we do matters. And the idea of blue marbles is you pass them as a sign of gratitude, but it's almost like a Buddhist thing of perspective. You don't grasp onto things. The idea is that you pass them on. So it's not about the thing, it's about the intention behind that. So I've just taken loads down to the beach, and it was a really bizarre passing of marbles, because it was an arm's length. It's like, here's a marble for you. And breathing the opposite way, and saying, you can put antiseptic on it if you like. It's like, it's a very odd thing. But you could pass this, but you could, for World Ocean Day, you could pass a virtual marble, because you could say, I'm passing this marble to you, Claire.
Oh. And I'm passing this marble to you.
There you go. Thanks. And it's an analog meme. So you think of all these digital memes that go around the internet. Blue Health Coaching is about connecting with the analog world and recognizing that we have within us light, shade, shape, color, form, complexity, simplicity, opacity, transparency. We have all this depth of experience, and that we as human beings are not digital. We're not black and white. We're every single shade of blue. So that's essentially. So this is an analog meme. It's a very physical thing. So, and anybody I've passed one to that hasn't known what it is, you get a very strange look, and then when you say what it is, they say, and it's like they get it. Like, yeah, we're all on this ocean planet together. So which is cool.
And what I love is that people that I didn't think would know what a blue marble is, I've gone to pass them to, and they're like, I've got one already. I'm like, wow, the blue marble movement has moved far and wide. I like it. So what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
I think probably, because you asked me this before, I think probably not to give advice. So, and that's a very NLP response. Neurolinguistic programming is, we are all subjective in our experiences. So the minute we attempt to say, this is what you should do, we're coming from our perspective. We're not recognizing that it's whilst we're all interconnected, there's subtlety and nuance in the way that we show up in the world. And so I think it's ask a question and be childlike in your curiosity. And the childlike piece adds joy, because if you're intense about asking questions, it's like people already occasionally have their own intensity. They already have their stuff they're working through. If we can bring a little bit of lightness that doesn't undermine or devalue the fact they might be dealing with something quite tricky, but we're bringing warmth and kindness to soften that, it enables people to make their own discovery. And people are amazing, aren't they? It's a coach, you think, I have no idea what the response, how they get out of this, but sometimes by asking a few questions, they find the solutions. So, and it's way more empowering when they do that, rather than you say what you need to do is this, because you don't own their life. We don't own anything. We don't like this, people fighting over the space on this planet. We don't own anything in reality. We're passing through.
Yeah. And on that note, what do you think the role is for Ocean Connection in our future?
So in our future, it's recognizing that we're going to go back to the sea and back to the earth anyway. So the role is to make sure that when we leave this planet, whether that's sooner or later, when we leave this planet, it's in a healthier place than when we arrived. I think if we can all take that action of being aware of the ripple effect of every choice that we make matters, which takes us back to this blue marble, we'll leave it in a space. We're recognizing that the ocean has rights of its own, as does the earth. It's not there at our service. So the more connected we can be, the more likely we'll leave it in a healthier place. And we've got work to do. You know yourself, we've got work to do on that, because we haven't made the wisest of choices. So we've got options and potential now. So people like yourself, you're sharing these types of conversations, which is about inspiring people to take action themselves. So thank you for that. Thank you for doing what you're doing. And if people want Blue Health coaching, go and speak to Claire. Go and speak to somebody who, part of that training is about really connecting with the space. It's not a knowledge-based thing. It's not just learning facts and figures about the ocean. This is in the heart. These are people who really love and care for the space. So can facilitate change for you in that way.
So, thank you, Lizzie.
You're welcome.
So we've got 7 people who are watching live. If anyone has a question for Lizzie, then do stick a comment in the comments box.
And if people have got questions after, so quite often with lives, people don't watch live, do they?
No.
They kind of afterwards get some questions, so they can either message you and I can respond via you, or they can find me on @Lizzie_L or @goingcoastal.blue. But that's not my Instagram account.
So my next question was, what's next for you and how do people find you? So
@Lizzie_L is Instagram. That's where I will post pictures. I'll post links to you guys as Blue Health coaches. So I tend to tag the other Blue Health coaches in things so that you can see what everybody's up to. So, and that would be great for you to follow all of that group of people that are using that hashtag. My website's www.goingcoastal.blue. The GhostNet project is GhostNet Busters, which is also available on that site, and that's for volunteers in the southwest who want to help recover ghost fishing nets. All got questions coming up. And British Divers Marine Life Rescue, if you want to support a charity who are amazing and do awesome work, you can either support Surfers Against Sewage, who are amazing, and anybody else that might come up today. Surfers Against Sewage, who is to do with ocean health. And if marine mammals are your thing, then British Divers Marine Life Rescue are a phenomenal 30-year-old charity who are terrible at fundraising. So if you can help them, that'd be awesome, because we help, all our volunteers help seals and dolphins. Or you might even want to become a volunteer yourself, because like you said earlier, Claire, when you take action, the action piece helps build that connection. So it's participating in. So,
yeah, the British Marine Life Divers were part of. We did like a virtual release of an orca off the beach as part of our anti-captivity campaigns with Whalefest and Incredible Oceans a few years ago, and it was a really emotional and moving thing, but it created a big impact. But yeah, they are an amazing organisation. So yeah, there is a question from Claudine. She asks, I'm just wondering if you have a ritual that you have whenever you go to the sea. She takes 5 mindful breaths to breathe in the sea air.
Beautiful. That's a really nice ritual to have, and definitely worth sharing with anybody that you recommend goes to the sea. First thing I do is look up. So I'm really lucky. I live 700 yards from the beach. So first thing I do is pause and expand my awareness, which the environment does that for me. But that sudden awareness of my vision allows me to take a big exhale. So I tend to start with an exhale, because it's like, and you see people arrive at the beach and they go, we've got here, we've arrived. We're at the edge of something. We're not any more bollocked in. So and I do breathe. Less of a conscious ritual, more than just lifting my chin and saying, wow, like looking up from the floor and saying, wow, this is pretty spectacular. What about you, Claire? Have you got a ritual?
Yeah, to watch the waves and breathe. Yeah, 100%. It just brings you back into the now, and the now is all we have. So it's important.
There is a direct link between being at the beach and our breath. And then I was going to say another resource for people, but I don't want it to clash with watching your lives, because it'd be great for you to get lots of people on live. But World Ocean Day for schools,
yes,
they're going to have lots of resources that are going to be left up for a few days.
Yeah.
So if people want resources for little people,
yeah,
I saw that somebody commented on something like little people, and I know that you can do some stuff as well for little people. But that's a group,
not me.
Group of organisations that have come together, and that resource will be up. It won't just be up for today. So that's another way of connecting with our water. It's basically do it in your own way. I love the 5 breaths. Then the 5 breaths is beautiful. Yeah.
I think
you're breathing in the sea air, but you're breathing in the sea air, but the ocean's breathing you in too, because every exhale you're joining it. So.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to wrap up now.
Yeah, because you've got loads today.
Thank you so much for your time. How are you spending the rest of World Oceans Day?
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm going to go and give away a few more marbles, and I'm going to meet up socially distanced with Emma, one of our Blue Health coaches, and show her Trianon, because she's not seen Trianon and she lives in Cornwall. So I'm going to go make her jump in or encourage her to jump in the rock pool there. So we'll send you some pictures, and then next time you're down in Cornwall, we'll get you in there as well. Awesome. Thank you for inviting me. Have an amazing day. I'm going to watch them all on replay.
And you take care.
Lots of love. Bye for now. Thanks for everybody joining us as well. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, go and get near the water.
Yeah, you take care.